línea 50 no renta, ya, porque la gente no apuesta. Los cabroncetes.
Regardless of which Pokemon are actually faster, his Pokemon can sneak in and move first. It's going to be difficult to do that potentially in this game, so I think that'll be a particularly important Pokemon to knock out if Aaron selects it.
Nahum, muchas gracias por ese follow. ¿Cómo estamos?
This is the thing that will wall you out of the game and start causing a bunch of problems. That's certainly something to be mindful of.
Aaron Brook, GISEOK en
pivot around, and this team preview, the players
Arma Letal 7.
Absolutely essential. A wrong choice here, or a suboptimal choice.
Igualmente lo tienen muy difícil para ganar al
A little
Dreadnought.
bit punishing.
Yeah, it's pretty excited to see how this one plays out.
Venga, vamos.
Can't say that this was the one
Goldengo al Mimikyu.
but I'm very glad it's what we get to cover. So the King Gambit and Meowscarada for Aaron on the top of your screen, with Goldengo and Mimikyu on the bottom side for JISEOK Lee.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see GISEOK's Mimikyu again.
Muchas hacks y manqueadas tienen que pasar para que no gane el
The
Dreadnought.
Trick Room option or even the Curse option is sort of the play. This is not that. This is a Mimikyu who is the status condition it wants to inflict is faint,
Oof.
and I always love that style of play.
That is one of my favorites. I say it often. People say, how do you win in these games? Just knock the other team out.
Me está gustando porque estoy viendo bastantes Mimikyus, tío.
And most popular, the Mimikyu, we've seen it with that life orb.
¿Sabes? Aparte, el de GISEOK lo ha llevado muy bien.
Just trying to get as much done as possible. An immediate switch from Aaron, getting that Pelipper in, maybe trying to help out that King Gambit a little bit later, depending on what it starts to face off against. But we're going to start diving right in. I think a lot of games, players usually have been holding it, with the exception of the Golden
Vale, va a tirar
Golden
tercero.
One of the easiest decisions to go with this terrestrialization early doors. Power up that Make It Rain and just see how much you can get out of it.
Y protect
Itself. Doesn't want to get caught.
A ver, tirará Make It Rain.
Big and damaging as Mimikyu will protect itself as well, keeping its disguise intact, but it's not going to matter in this turn as it's not going to get hit. Golden Go firing off the Make It Rain will go into the protector Meowscarada.
A ver, le tiene que hacer bastante daño al Pelipper,
The big kind of turn that he wants from this Terra, being able to get that damage down, and his special attack goes down. It's going to be even further away, so a nice little pivot from Aaron here on turn 1.
Yeah, still, it's a bunch of damage going the other direction. Now very realistic to get a
Yo confío, Faker.
Able to use something like that. Tailwind,
Tú siempre ganas. Y si no ganas es culpa de tu equipo, no tuya.
Compared to when we saw it in the quarterfinals, right? In that match, there's kind of like a very slow style, or GARGANACL slowly won the game. This has been aggressive.
No, que no ganas ni un mundial. No. Pobre Faker.
Even the nasty plot life orb we saw last round, but the wide guard can be a real problem for those choices.
Battle Guard.
That is basically Golden Go done for the foreseeable future, as Mimikyu will get knocked off. Will be, of course, taking the disguise, getting busted. It's way less damage than it would have been, but still a little bit annoying.
Make It Rain.
Gets taken away as well.
Cagaste, perdiste el turno. A que ahora ya no vas a tirar más eso.
And Aaron is going to have to wait and see what this Mimikyu has gone for. It is going to be the and it's going to fall short. Getting the knockout on Pelipper, that knockoff, actually huge in being able to keep this Pelipper around, which restores its health with the Citrus Berry. So it's got another turn to maybe just shut down the Golden Go.
Yeah, it makes this turn way more difficult to play. Where, with many situations like this, like pretty much anything other than wide guard, like, I could just knock out that Pokemon, then use my move, but wide guard will stick even if Pelipper was knocked out, right? So it doesn't help. Sort of forces a switch here, and then also makes...
¿Te la va a jugar a meter otra vez? Ay, mi madre, como le spameo hasta guardia.
It's really tough to leave Golden Go in, so... nice little position he's got himself in, and we kind of see this
Eso es jugársela muchísimo, tío.
The other Pelipper we've seen so far this weekend, really paying off in this turn.
Oh, it's all about the moveset, right?
Vale.
It's all about what you
Cambia Pelipper.
Wide guard right now, though. The Pelipper leaving the field, maybe assuming that there was going to be the
Se me cayó el boli.
from the Golden Go, but it is going to be kept on the field for now. That does mean that
Estos coreanos están borrachos. No, pero le salió bien. O sea, no hubo hasta guardia, pero le va a dar puto igual. Con la bajada de ataque especial que tiene, mira eso, lo que le hizo al King Gambit. Olvídate, ese Goldengo tiene que cambiarse el próximo turno. Y Mimikyu está a merced de que le meta un pepinazo el King Gambit.
because it has got the focus sash. That's something that GISEOK knows about and has to
Esto se va a poner feo.
You know, if you're doubling up on the Escarlata right now, this King
Nada,
Gambit
estamos en el tema de top 4, o sea, esto no es la final, obviamente, sino son la otra semifinal. Y después nos vamos a la final. Historia mesopotámica. Exacto. Y para los que no estudien historia mesopotámica, suscríbanse al canal y aprenderéis historia mesopotámica. Mira, toma, truco floral. ¿Cómo se quedó ahí de vida? ¿Qué pasó, Byballer? ¿Qué pasó durante esa época, Oni? ¿Qué no pasó? ¿Tú has escuchado la lluvia dorada de Goldengo? Pues eso. Aquí lo llaman fiebre, pero es para censurar.
It's sort of a weird situation now for Aaron, where it's like you don't really want to knock it out, but also you want to do enough damage so that, you know, if it switches in and out, that it's not really going to be a threat later. You don't want to take a late game, make it rain from neutral special attack. Dreadnought coming in is a big deal, though, right? We didn't see Aaron use any actual speed control moves, but the Swift Swim ability is still active now, at least for a single turn on this Dreadnought, so it briefly gets to be the quickest Pokemon on the field.
And the Pelipper can come back in and reset that range, so probably feeling in a good position. Of course, there is the world where the King Gambit can try and lock something down with the Sucker Punch, maybe. Something like the Mimikyu being able to just deal that tiny little bit of damage. But there is a way around it that I find very interesting. Mimikyu is going to Shadow Sneak, so getting away from that Swift Swim, making sure it doesn't get caught. King Gambit will Sucker Punch, but because the Mimikyu's already attacked, it's not able to connect that. As said, Dreadnaught's not worried about it, is going to land that Liquidation and knock out that Golden Ghost. So the Dreadnought feeling pretty good here about its first appearance on the board. As, you know, it wasn't -3 special attack, but don't even let it get that damage down and fish potentially for one of those critical hits. The rain will stop, but Pelipper is still in the back for Aaron BROK.
Yeah, as you said, at some point, Pelipper going to need to come out probably and reset that rain, but nice spot for him right now. Sort of weird that Mimikyu survived. I don't know if either side is like super excited about that, where you do want to...
Hola, Aurigel.
If you're Aaron, where
¿Cómo estamos?
Taking a play rust unnecessarily is still not ideal, but also like 12 HP. Mimikyu sitting there isn't like amazing, right? Where it's going to be really easy to get in situations where Mimikyu existing on the field kind of creates problems for the Pokemon next to it because it's not exerting enough threat.
Well, the Excalibur has come in.
A ver, el Mimikyu ya está que bota una sombra vil. Pero de resto no creo que pueda meter más nada, Bueno, a ver, es más rápido el Mimikyu que King Gambit.
I will say it's certainly something I think a number more players are going to be looking at in the coming tournaments. But let's focus on the now. Let's focus on this semi-final and see.
A ver, un Tauros.
You know, GISEOK
Sí, Pocota. Tauros se está jugando bastante y bastante bien está yendo, Tengo mi guardia muy modesto, full EPS en ataque especial. Lo otro es donde me recomiendas ponerlo. Pues normalmente en velocidad friopolar. O si no lo llevas en velocidad, mezclarlo velocidad PS o algo así. Y aún así no es muy rápido. King Gambit es lentísimo, efectivamente.
The big thing for me is, you know, how much work can this Dreadnought do when it comes in?
Te digo, mi Mimikyu es dentro de lo que cabe rápido. O sea, obviamente es un Pokémon lento en comparación con algunos verdaderos que van a velocidad. Pero no va del todo mal. Aunque mi Mimikyu, si no me equivoco, lo llevo firme.
Intimidating this side of the field is not necessarily a great thing. He doesn't have a super clear way of dealing with well, I guess the Tauros looks really good here.
Yeah, the Tauros coming in, if it can come in safely as well, is going to be big. If it doesn't get completely punished for it, the Intimidate will land on the Dreadnought. So I do think Dreadnought is actually way less of a threat. It definitely suffers with the Intimidate, but King Gambit is now
copian los cambios estadísticos. No. Ya lo había hecho entonces. Lo. Vale, Mimikyu se va a la M.
Going for that sucker punch has taken a lot of the pressure off, as this King Gambit wasted a turn where it could have landed a big attack onto that.
No le queda sino el Excalibur, pero claro, él está con el Dreadnought y con el King Gambit. No tiene por qué irle del todo mal, ¿eh?
Yeah, terrestrialization can be really, really big when it comes down to Aaron's team. I mean, he's got two choices right now. You know, he's got the Dreadnought, which can become a grass type, and then he's got the King Gambit, can become a flying type. Well,
está esperando el tiempo al máximo para.
I know which one I'd like to go with. You know, I'm not saying I'm a top player, but I feel like there's just a better option here.
Certainly seems like it. I can't say I know my Dreadnought Helk super well. One would assume Terra Blast does a whole bunch here, but I mean, if not, the defensive typing switch would help the King Gambit here, who you definitely don't want to let get bonked by a close combat, but hey, you know, change types to flying, you don't really want to get bonked by ice type attacks either.
That's the other big concern, is the icicle spears, the ice shards. That would be very, very painful. So it's kind of like you want to change type to deal with the Taurus and be in a better position against that.
Joder, el Aarón está llevando el tiempo al límite, Vale, Protect con Dreadnought. Utilizará con el King Gambit o sea, va a haber doble Protect. Vale, por parte de él, sí. Y nada, King Gambit, independientemente de lo que use, GL. Ironhead. Vale. Iba contra el Excalibur.
A dull turn, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, both teams scouting things out there. I kind of like that better if I'm on Aaron's side. I think now knowing that both these Pokemon are very unlikely to protect makes this turn a lot more.
Lo que pasa es que ahora ya el GISEOK no va a tirar Protect, por lo menos en este turno. Le tira.
It's so close here, down to the last few Pokemon. You know, just really this tight 2v2.
LOL.
Protect again, though, the Dreadnought.
Clavó doble Protect, colega. Vale, muy bien, muy bien. Muy bien llevada ahí la... El ataque al King Gambit. Y nada, va a aguantar por parte... Nada, el combate lo tiene hecho. Lo tiene hecho ya. Creo que al Dreadnought ya se lo come. Afuera. No va a matarlo. Olvídate. Y lo flincheó, tío. Vale, pero da igual, no flincheó a los dos. Ya hubiese sido demasiado. Hubiese sido demasiado ya. Vale, muy buena, muy buena. Vale, va GISEOK ahí a uno. Venga, Aaron Brook, arriba. Grande Lissin. Digo Faker, digo GISEOK. Bruce Lee. Los paradojas siguen van en competitivo, ¿no? Efectivamente, empiezan a poder usarse dentro de un mes. El 1 de febrero ya se pueden utilizar en competitivo, Pocota. Por cierto, para todos los que quieran participar, ¿vale? Espérate. Force GISEOK's hand a little bit. I mean, I don't know if those two turns make the difference. Copiar.
Right? He does get to sucker punch.
Estoy organizando un evento, ¿vale? Estoy organizando una liga de Pokémon Escarlata y Púrpura, formato VGS oficial. En el vídeo explico más o menos las reglas, ¿vale? Y si tienen interés, os la podéis leer en la descripción del vídeo o bien en el Discord del canal, ¿vale? Por si quieren apuntarse.
The Escarlata did quite a good job of causing some problems. And then the King Gambit just felt solid across the board. So a tough one to make room for, but definitely something to think about.
A ver, yo me he buildado un Ferro Paladín, menudo bicho. Es que el Ferro Palaca es muy bueno.
The match that his opponent played on stream previously, it kind of got fake information, right? The way that he played that series against James Evans versus this, those teams don't really seem like they have much in common, right? Even it's the same player playing the same team, but it's such a different strategy that I think if you were expecting something similar to what you saw before, maybe that causes you to pick the wrong Pokemon here, right? And now that you've seen what he's going to do against you, you can kind of retriangulate a little bit.
Venga, vamos a la siguiente.
Going to be a tough one to navigate, trying to figure out where the strategy is.
Y segunda partida,
GISEOK
gente.
team probably has a little bit more variety in it compared to Aaron's, which does feel a little bit more kind of this is the power pair,
GARGANACL, Mimikyu.
And we're already going to see a change from GISEOK. The GARGANACL coming to the fore with the Mimikyu. One offensive, one much slower, but definitely solid Pokemon, especially with the King Gambit there, which doesn't.
Yo me quiero buildear para el competitivo una Ferropolilla y Reptalada. Voy a llevar un equipo de polillitas.
The flip side is, yeah, I mean, GARGANACL now facing off against two Pokemon that can do super effective damage to it, unless it immediately terastallizes, which, you know, there's a lot to give up at this point in the game, especially as a Pokemon who is like, you know, based around kind of a later game.
Me mola tu team. ¿Cuál? El mío, Orígenes, va a ser Volcarona, Ferropolilla, Reptalada, Frostmoth y no sé si hay alguna polilla que me olvide, pero también la meteré. Terminará siendo a lo mejor un Vivillon o algo de eso. No, bueno, Venomoth. Es verdad, Venomoth. Debería ser la última. El Venomoth. Ahí está. Serían los 6. Frostmoth, Frostmoth, Venomoth, Ferropolilla, Reptalada, Volcarona y Masquerain.
If you're on GISEOK's side, Mimikyu's play rough will do over half on this one, so getting a lot of damage down because it still has access to that life orb that caused problems, but it just immediately activates that.
No, GARGANACL está muy fuerte, Es un Pokémon Staller bastante feo, tío. O sea, no físico, sino que es que lo que hace, tío. Duxtox está. Creo que no aquí. Creo que no. Pero a lo mejor después del DLC.
Interesting adjustment where I think defensively, GARGANACL probably gonna have a harder time here than the last time we saw it, but offensively it can really dish out some pressure.
And you've got the Pelipper on the other side as well, which does not appreciate the type of the move, nor the damage between turns. Of course, if he does that, then he has to pivot to that hard, like, defensive style. But what do you have to deal with a poison type? I don't think that's a
Venga, vamos. Esa Salcure. Se la son.
And I think we have to keep something in mind that Aaron mentioned the last time this was up here too. It's a really bad idea.
Van a intentar llevarse primero al Pelipper. Nah, clavó viento a fin. Ya ahí el Pelipper ya cumplió lo que tenía que hacer.
So that is a very easy knockout, and of course, this, you know, King Gambit needs to be getting some work done before these start to add up. The GARGANACL just not appreciating any amount of damage on it, as it does decide to just heal up another.
Pocota, muchas gracias por ese follow en Twitch. Muchas gracias por el apoyito.
The big thing for me though is, can Aaron capitalize on this tailwind?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's kind of in a rough spot here. I think not taking that knockout is brilliant. As you see both of these Pokemon getting hovered here, both of them have priority moves that have a real chance of being a knockout at this point. Yeah, I mean, Pelipper staying out there, but potentially not really doing anything but help burn this first turn of Trick Room. And then,
vale, va a meter a Excalibur.
King Gambit sitting there with the Cell-Cure on it. Not super ideal either.
A ver, teniendo al King Gambit todavía adelante, no sé si un poco arriesgado,
It's not quite so simple as perhaps it could have been for GISEOK here, but I like it. It's sneaky. You know, sometimes, especially with, you know, these speed control moves that last a limited duration of turns, you know, you kind of want to slow play it a little bit and try to minimize how much advantage your opponent can get, especially in a situation like this where Pelipper is pretty likely to be knocked out and probably won't be able to use it a second time.
Kind of leaving the Pelipper though until the tailwind's up, not the worst thing. You know, and also the longer you leave these pairs on the map, there's no dreadnought
Vale.
to come in, and you give it less turns with the rain. So, you know, I do think Aaron can definitely play around it, but there's
Cambia King Gambit.
it does force him actually to immediately pivot over to try and get something else in, because as well, you need to get rid of that salt here. That was absolutely brutal.
LOL, bien ahí. Nada, Peliper fuera.
It's still going to be the Excalibur facing a grass type now as well, making sure those salt cures are always ticking.
Y le fue a meter, o sea, Chus, ¿cómo lo supo?
And yeah, salt cure, yeah, it's not going to do as much damage between turns, but it still adds up.
Dios, tío, qué hediondada el Salazón.
As Escarlata is not going to enjoy fighting this Excalibur regardless of the speed control. And again, it's kind of what we were talking about before the game. There are no speed control moves on this team, but sometimes you don't really need them. But this is a good pairing to get out there. You know, if he's guessing correctly that the last Pokemon is Tauros, you know, it's now no longer so safe just to come in and intimidate Escarlata. I'm sure that's some of why he was choosing not to bring Tauros in previously, both to avoid that and also kind of to maintain the intimidate. But it's kind of an awkward spot here, right? Where you know, Excalibur now in a bunch of danger. You don't want to give it up too easily. So, you know, how do you stall out this Trick Room safely, or Trick Room Tailwind, the fast one? Yeah.
Yeah, you need to go burr in this one. You need to go really fast. But
he went really fast.
Yeah, he goes really fast.
Dios, ese Excalibur.
Absolutely essential in the previous turn. The Iron Head.
Soy yo, Concha.
Entro. Y Morax, muchas gracias por esa raid. Bienvenuti, gente. ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo estáis? Muchas gracias. Voy a mostrar aquí un shoutout.
Real easy to wait a turn for this King Gambit to get felled.
Yeah, I have a really good guess what moves that these two Pokemon are going to use on the next turn.
Yes, you mean the two Pokemon, well, if it was in
Ahí está.
typing, the Pokemon
Muchísimas gracias por esa raid. Bienvenuti. ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo estamos?
Excalibur, not a fan, I have heard. So certainly a tough situation. Let's see how
¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo fue el directito?
See if the Dreadnought can put in any work.
Vale, vamos a seguir viendo cómo va el combate, ¿vale? Que si no nos perdemos. Si no me equivoco, clavar un doble protect, ¿no? Repartiendo Scorbunis, nice.
25% per turn, over 100% of the health gone. And it's then going to be the
vale, la lluvia para. Y ya no hay Pelipper, coleguita, así que no va a meter lluvia de nuevo. Se lo come el Salazón, ¿no? Sí. No he visto mucho VGC, pero Murkrow se suelen ver por viento afín y la niebla. Efectivamente, Pocota. Aunque te tengo que decir, en el top este, los Murkrow... No he visto ninguno, ¿eh? No he visto ninguno en el top. Después a Nihilape he visto casi nada, creo que uno por ahora. Y lo que sí he visto son Goldengos, Tauros, los Tauros de agua y fuego, agüita. Y como que llevan estrategia para contrearlos, así que flipa. Bueno, yo dejo por aquí la view, que me toca ir a cenar. ¡Buen provecho! Buen provecho con la comida y Morax. Uy, ese GARGANACL. Nada, solo le queda el Dreadnought, Glaber Rush. Se acabó. Se acabó. GISEOK a la final del regional.
Really impressive set. Once again, GARGANACL just coming out and destroying everyone. And I'm really excited to see how this finals plays out. Two players who have looked really good on their stream appearances, so it should be a very fantastic final match for us. And props to Aaron as well. Obviously the semifinal didn't go
pues GISEOK
I'm sure, but I got
a la final, colega.
I really appreciate what he brought to the tournament.
That is a huge